Excellencies, distinguished guests, please take your seats. Our program will begin momentarily, and kindly be sure your cell phones are off. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, welcome to the General Assembly Hall and for watching around the world to everyone. This is the official United Nations commemoration of International Women's Day 2025 for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. Please welcome our MC, Emmy Award-winning, WABC television eyewitness news anchor, activist, advocate, and cherished supporter of UN Women, Shade Badar-Rinoir.
Good morning. Hello, beautiful, powerful sisters. To the bold, the brilliant, the resilient, to the women who push forward, who carry so much, sometimes too much, to the ones who rise, who fall, who get back up again, you are incredible. Happy International Women's Day. Now, you know we have to start off with some affirmations. So I want you to turn to the woman next to you, look her into the eyes and say, "You're fabulous." Now I want you to say, "You struggled hard to get here." I see you. Keep going. Keep pushing. Don't give up. You're stronger than you know. You're fierce. There we go. Well, again, I'm Shade Badar-Rinoir, and it is a pleasure to be here with you once again. And it feels so good celebrating our collective voice. You know, before beginning this morning, I had an opportunity to walk through and speak to some of the people who were here. And I met somebody named Watu. She's from Indonesia, Brazil. She brought a friend from Brazil. She brought another friend from China. And she brought her son-in-law from Queens. They're in the back. Can you stand up for a moment so people can see who you are? Thank you for the support. So I said to Adam, Adam, well, first of all, aren't you lucky? You're one of a few men here surrounded by women, incredible women. And I said, what are you doing in this fight for gender equality? And he said, you know, at work, I'm pushing for more women in leadership roles, which is so important, right? We need men in this fight. And Fatu said, you know, today is so important that I wanted to be here because it's about showing solidarity. And she said, it's hard to keep the motivation going because it is dark and scary times and that we need that motivation. So Fatu, I'm here to tell you, we're going to give you that motivation today. And Angela, a mom, brought her two young girls. One is Sarah, she's 14, and her sister is Paula. And they said, you know, today serves as an inspiration to see what I can do So ladies, we are inspiring a new generation. And her sister Paula said, I get to learn a lot about what women around the globe are doing. So we hope to inspire you today. And Mila, who is 17, says, this day inspires me to be proactive. So we've got so much on our agenda today. We hope to inspire all of you and remind you of the charge ahead. Your excellencies, distinguished guests, and friends, and to everyone watching around the globe, we stand together today, across generations, across continents, in the pursuit of gender equality in all of its forms. And I have to say, I always love celebrating this day because I think it allows us to check in with ourselves. It's almost like a medical checkup, that yearly medical checkup. And you ask yourself, are you a better version of yourself than last year? Are you maximizing your potential? Do you have greater capacity? Are you playing yourself too small? Or are you holding back out of fear? Are you doing enough to change the world around you? So if you find yourself on the fence with any of these issues, then that means it's time to get to work. It's time to dig in. And I can even say, I ask all those internal questions myself, and I can say, and stand here before you to say, I too have much greater capacity today. So I've got work to do. We're all going to be working together. You know, there were a group of women, a large group of women, 30 years ago that did exactly that. They asked those internal questions, and they looked at their world and said, I have greater capacity, not just for myself, but for those around me. And so they got to work, and yes, they dug in. Now, keep in mind, the greatest shifts in history don't just start in the halls of power, like here at the United Nations. They start in small moments of power. So these women, in those small moments of power, were led by a single truth. Women's rights are human rights. In 1995 in Beijing, the world declared that truth boldly. The Fourth World Conference on Women was not just a moment, it was a movement. Women, just like you, some from the same backgrounds, facing the same challenges, they stood together. And in that moment, 189 nations agreed the rights of women and girls are not negotiable. Equality is not a favor. It is a fundamental right. That conference, yes. And that conference remains one of the most significant gatherings for women's rights in history, shaping policies and movements for decades. And today, we celebrate that anniversary. And the women who worked on this agenda are actually here with us today. So please stand if you were a part of that agenda. We need to see you. Yes, stand, please. Yes. Yes, ladies, we needed you. They were there for us. Thank you. So here we are, 3 decades later, still fighting for what should be unquestioned, still demanding equal pay, still demanding a seat at the table, every table, still demanding reproductive freedom, and still demanding safety on our streets and in our homes, and peace in a world of conflict, and the list goes on. So this year, we're digging into this fight. We're going to be inspired today as we hear from visionary activists from across the world how they are using their voices to effect change. Our program today includes UN leaders like the UN Secretary General, a man who walks the talk for equality and has been a true champion for women's rights. I love seeing you here today. Your presence matters. What you do matters. So thank you, UN Secretary General. We're also going to hear from leaders in the world of music, sports, and art who have made history and have become powerful advocates for justice. We're also going to hear from a barrier-breaking CEO bringing girls into STEM, a youth climate activist fighting to save the planet, and a message from a 10-year-old girl sharing her hopes for the future. So these are just some of the highlights of what's to come. So let's get started. We have a lot to unpack today. Please welcome to this podium His Excellency Philemon Yang, President of the General Assembly, to speak on behalf of the UN member states. Please welcome him.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and women for convening this important and timely event. I am truly delighted to take part in this meeting. Gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls remain among the highest priorities of my presidency. Let me begin on a positive note. Over the past 5 decades, we have made notable strides in advancing gender equality. International frameworks, such as the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, and United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women and peace and security have laid a strong foundation for progress. Women's representation in parliaments worldwide has nearly tripled, rising from just 10% 50 years ago to 27% today. Girls have greater access to education than ever before, and maternal mortality rates have declined alongside a reduction in child marriage to 18.7%. Today, domestic violence laws exist in 165 countries, and women continue to lead groundbreaking scientific advancements, including the development of COVID-19 vaccines. Across every sector, peace building, human rights advocacy, climate action, and the private sector, women are driving transformative change. It is fitting that we celebrate these achievements in a year marked by major milestones. This year, the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, and the 25th anniversary of United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, offers a moment to reflect on progress and honor accomplishments. It is also important to rally greater support for gender equality and women's empowerment, because we cannot afford complacency. These anniversaries occur in a disturbing reality. While we have made undeniable progress, full gender equality remains out of reach. The journey is far from over, and much remains to be done. And while we celebrate the growing number of women in parliaments, progress remains slow. At the current trajectory, gender parity in legislative bodies may not be achieved until 2063. Beyond legal barriers, economic and technological inequalities continue to widen. Millions of women remain excluded from the benefits of rapid technological advancements due to disparities in education and skills training. It is a tragic and enduring reality that women remain disproportionately vulnerable to violence. This state of affairs is fueled and reinforced by social norms that normalize sexism and misogyny. 1 in 3 women, approximately 736 million, has experienced physical or sexual violence in her lifetime. Moreover, conflicts worldwide inflict some of the gravest violations of women's and girls' rights, increasing their vulnerability to conflict-related sexual violence and exploitation. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs,
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen,
nous devons faire bien plus,
we must do a lot more,
non seulement pour honorer nos
not only
engagements
to honour
actuels,
our current commitments,
mais aussi pour
but also
tracer d'urgence
to
une voie vers une égalité
trace a
pleine
path
et
towards
entière
full
entre les genres.
equality, gender equality.
Nous avons les langues nécessaires pour agir.
We have
Avec
a long way
l'adoption
to
du
go with the
pacte pour
adoption of the
l'avenir
Pact for the Future
au début de cette
at
session.
the start of this session.
Ce pacte,
This
ainsi
pact,
qu'un de ses annexes,
as well as its
la
annexes,
déclaration sur les générations
the
futures,
Declaration on Future Generations,
réaffirme
reaffirms
notre devoir de
our
mettre pleinement en
duty
œuvre
to fully
les engagements
implement
internationaux
international
relatifs aux droits
commitments
des femmes
on
et des
women's
filles.
and girls' rights.
Mais les engagements seuls ne suffisent pas.
But commitments are not enough.
Atteindre l'égalité de genre
Gender
exige une
equality
mobilisation totale des
requires
gouvernements,
total
de
mobilization
la
from
société
governments,
civile,
from civil
du
society,
secteur privé
from the private
et
sector,
de tous les acteurs
and from
concernés.
all actors concerned.
Cela requiert
This
une
requires
volonté politique forte,
strong political will,
des investissements soutenus
ongoing
et une
investment,
transformation fondamentale
and a
des
fundamental
structures
structural
qui
transformation,
perpétuent les inégalités depuis très longtemps.
which has for far too long or been
La tâche qui
perpetuating
nous attend
inequality.
est immense, mais
It is
elle
a
n'est pas
colossal
insurmontable.
task, but it is not
Ensemble,
insurmountable.
honorons
Together,
le passé,
let's honour the
agissons avec
past
urgence
and
d'aujourd'hui
act today
et construisons un monde
and let us
où les
build
droits
a
de chaque
world
femme
where
et de
the
chaque
rights
fille
of every
sont
woman and girl is
un monde où
guaranteed.
l'égalité n'est pas une
A world
aspiration
where equality is not
mais
an
une
aspiration
réalité
but a reality,
et où les femmes
and where
les
women
filles
and girls
sont pleinement
are fully
autonomisées pour
empowered
façonner leur propre avenir.
and empowered to
Je vous remercie.
build their own futures. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you so much. And you're right, gender equality requires mobilization from government and civil society, so this journey is far from over. Much is required to get done, and we're all going to get it done. We are thrilled to share with you just one example of the power of the global women's movement over the decades. This past year, right here in New York City, a new musical called Suffs played out on Broadway to audiences from all over the world. And the show tells the story of the American, yes. And the show tells the story of the American suffragists, or Suffs as they called themselves, reminding us of what the collaborative resilience, persistence, and bravery can do. And throughout this morning, we're going to see examples, but first, it is my honor to introduce you to the two-time Tony Award-winning creator of Suffs, the musical, Shana Taub, before she brings out the cast to sing the song called The March. So please welcome her.
Hello, happy International Women's Day! I'm honored to stand here today and grateful we can kick off this celebration with a song. I grew up in a tiny mountain town in Vermont. Every Hanukkah, my mom gave me a Broadway cast album. They cracked my world wide open. At my public high school, I eagerly participated in every production. Musicals like Cabaret, Hair, and Ragtime became my gateway to the past. But women's history was largely missing from the musical theater canon and from my classroom. Cut to 10 years ago, my friend and Suffs producer, Rachel Sussman, asked what I knew about the American women's suffrage movement. Sheepishly, I realized all I knew was that Susan B. Anthony had her face on a coin. Rachel handed me Jailed for Freedom, a first-hand account of the struggle, and suggested it could be a musical. I stayed up all night reading the electrifying story of how women pioneered large-scale protests, were violently imprisoned, yet persisted for decades. How they made tough choices about work, marriage, and motherhood. How they shared a goal, but had widely different ideas about how to achieve it. Most of all, the Suffs reminded me of my friends. Loud, stubborn, complicated, intense women who find joy in taking on hard challenges together. At 4 a.m., I emailed Rachel saying, yes, we have to do this. I wanted to lift the Suffs out of dusty footnotes and bring them alive. I wanted to try to write the kind of musical that would have made me feel seen as a little girl. It took 10 years of perseverance and teamwork to turn this idea into a Broadway musical. And soon, schools worldwide will be able to put the show on themselves. And our original production will be on public access television. I hope girls everywhere can see themselves represented by it and realize there's a place for them in the spotlight too. I hope the show might remind them that women have made enormous progress before, so we can do it again. This is why I believe in theater as a tool for social change. Musicals, like democracy, are generational projects that demand participation. They allow us to gather in a hall much like this one, hold up a mirror to the present, and shine a searchlight toward the future, to conjure our ancestors' courage and learn from their mistakes. Systems of power might prefer that a girl never watch or perform in a play about her history because they know once she does, she'll want to write the next chapter for herself. And we all know the story is never over. The Suffs, both in America and globally, did not live to see their fight finished, and neither will we, but the next generation might, and that is reason enough to continue the work. So now, to sing out in solidarity with women around the world, I'm proud to introduce the original cast of Suffs.
We demand equality and nothing
They were fabulous, right? I'm certainly charged now. We demand to be seen, we demand to be heard. Well, now to formally launch our celebration of International Women's Day, please welcome the man who has made gender equality a foundation of his tenure, demanding, as Shana and the Cashas sang, equality and nothing in between. His Excellency, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, who will deliver opening remarks.
Excellencies, dear friends, thank you for the invitation and for the moving performance. We gather today not just to celebrate the International Women's Day, but to move forward, resilient, united, and unwavering in our pursuit of, and I quote, equality, development, and peace for all women everywhere in the interest of humanity, end of quote. Those are the first words of the Beijing Declaration. And this year marks the 30th anniversary of that landmark conference and its reaffirmation that women's rights are human rights. Since then, women have broken barriers, shattered ceilings, and reshaped societies. More girls are in school. More women hold positions of power. And digital activism has ignited global movements for justice. Yet, these hard-fought gains remain fragile and far from enough. Age-old horrors, violence, discrimination, and economic inequality still plague our societies. Every 10 minutes, a woman is killed by her partner or a family member. 612 million women and girls live under the shadow of armed conflicts, where their rights are too often considered expendable. Less than 2/3 of women worldwide participate in the labor market, and those who do earn far less than men. At this pace, eradicating extreme poverty for women and girls will take 130 years. And as we see in every corner of the world, from pushback to rollback, women's rights are under attack. Centuries of discrimination are being exacerbated by new threats. Digital tools, while brimming with promise, are also often silencing women's voices, amplifying bias, and fueling harassment. Women's bodies have become political battlegrounds, and online violence is escalating into real-life violence. Instead of mainstreaming equal rights, we are witnessing the mainstreaming of chauvinism and misogyny. We cannot stand by as progress is reversed. We must fight back. Last September, member states adopted the Pact for the Future. And the Pact reminds us that equality is the engine of progress of all people, and that Agenda 2030 can only be realized when all women and girls enjoy their full rights. It calls for greater investment in the Sustainable Development Goals, expanded debt relief, and stronger support from multilateral development banks so that governments can invest in what their people need: education, training, job creation, and social protection that can help drive equality for all. And the Global Digital Compact calls for closing the gender-digital divide, pushing back against online abuse, and ensuring women and girls everywhere can access the benefits from the opportunities of a rapidly evolving global economy. Meanwhile, we are also working to end the scourge of violence against women and girls. Through the Spotlight Initiative, the UN and the EU have shown that comprehensive approaches to eliminating gender-based violence can work. We have helped keep 1 million more girls in school. We have helped prevent 21 million women and girls from experiencing gender-based violence. And across 13 Spotlight Initiative countries, the conviction rate for gender-based violence has doubled. These achievements prove that when we unite behind ambitious strategies, we can deliver real change. But our work is far from over. We must never accept a world where women and girls live in fear, where their safety is a privilege rather than a non-negotiable right. Excellencies and friends, leadership on the International Women's Day belongs to us all. At the United Nations, we have achieved and maintained gender parity among senior leadership and resident coordinators at world level since 2020. And for the first time in our organization's history, we have also reached parity in international professional categories. This proves once again that systemic change is possible with concerted and determined action. Today, as part of the UN system-wide Gender Equality Acceleration Plan, I'm proud to announce our commitment to the Gender Equality Clarion Call, a bold, urgent pledge to defend and advance the rights of all women and girls. The Clarion Call sets out 4 priorities. Unified leadership. All UN leaders must champion and defend women's rights in every decision and in every forum. Action against pushbacks. We must actively confront backlash, prevent rollbacks, and create spaces where women's rights can thrive. Coordinated impact, working across sectors and all levels to dismantle systemic inequalities, and protecting human rights defenders, as we will defend and amplify the voices of women on the front lines, standing firm against those who seek to silence them. This clarion call and the Gender Equality Acceleration Plan must drive real political change in all that we do. And we are leading by example. When we call on governments, organizations and businesses to do the same. Chers amis,
dear friends, the fight for gender equality is not just about fairness. It is about power. Who gets a seat at the table and who is locked out? It is about dismantling systems that allow inequalities to fester, and it is about ensuring a better world for all. When women participate in negotiations, peace lasts longer. When girls can go to school, entire generations lift out of poverty. When women enjoy equal job opportunities, economies grow stronger. And with parity in political leadership, decisions are fairer, policies are sharper, and societies are more just. Simply put, when women and girls rise, everyone thrives. So, on this International Women's Day, let us be guided by the voices of women and girls around the world and always choose action over apathy. Let us realize the vision of the Beijing Declaration, accelerate action, and march forward for every woman, for every girl, for everyone, everywhere. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary General, thank you so much for being with us today. As he said, equality is the engine of progress. And I loved hearing what he was saying about you have to champion women's causes in every decision that is made. And it is good to know that is happening here at the United Nations. Their efforts to dismantle systems that allow gender inequality to fester. So just wonderful. You know, There was the latest report on the status of women's rights that was released just yesterday that tell us across their lifetime, 1 in 3 women, around 736 million, are subjected to physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner or sexual violence from a non-partner. Since 1995, the proportion of women in parliaments has more than doubled from 11 to 27%. But at the current rate of progress, gender parity will not be achieved before 2063. That is a long time away. The gender gap in labor force participation has remained almost unchanged for 20 years, with 63% of women and 92% of men in the labor force in 2022, and the gender pay gap remaining persistently worldwide. Yet studies have shown that when women have access to education, microloans, and literature, they have agency, they are in power, they are not victims of gender-based violence, the entire community flourishes, regions flourish, the world changes. So UN Women is championing the march forward for women's and girls' rights, demanding bold calls to action. And to tell us more, it is my pleasure to introduce the Undersecretary General and the Executive Director of UN Women, Sima Bahous. And Sima used to be a journalist and a news anchor in Jordan many, many years ago. She amplified her voice and is now leading UN Women, and we're just so happy to have her and to hear her voice today. So please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Your Excellency, Philemon Yang, President of the General Assembly, distinguished delegates, feminists, athletes, artists, young people, young leaders, civil society, colleagues, all friends with us here today. Welcome to our 50th International Women's Day at the United Nations. It is a pleasure to be with you all. International Women's Day is a powerful moment, and this year more than ever. The cause of gender equality has never been more urgent, nor the obstacles in our way more apparent, but our determination has never been more unshakable. As we just heard the Secretary General announce in his Gender Equality Acceleration Plan clarion call, we must all champion women's rights. We must confront the backlash. We must enhance our efforts to dismantle systemic inequalities, and we must protect women human rights defenders. Together, we can all push forward. Excellencies, today we celebrate equality for all women and girls, and we celebrate coming together, here, now, everywhere. This year, our call is for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. Because equality with exceptions is not equality. Because the world has promised rights, equality, and empowerment to all women and girls, everywhere, always. And this promise has yet to be realized. The pushback against those promises is nothing new. We have faced it before. We will face it again under gender equality discussions, but until gender equality is our shared reality and shared reward, we will not stop. Dear friends, make no mistake, our movement is powerful and it is growing. It is all of you here, all those who are remotely connected and listening, all those who commemorate International Women's Day in different ways. It is all of us who understand that equality is not to be feared, but instead to be embraced, because an equal world is a better world. This year, we mark the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. We hope to see its commitments reaffirmed in a strong, forward-looking political declaration to be adopted at CSW 69. This year, we commemorate the 25th anniversary of Security Council Resolution 1325. We look also forward to the final stretch this year of the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals. What better reminders to energize and guide us all. Dear friends, from governments to boardrooms, from classrooms to households, women's equality is the greatest solution, and we know that. Every study we do, every project we do, every program we do, every effort and partnership we have tells us that women's equality is the greatest solution. Real solutions require that women be at the heart of decision-making. From Afghanistan to the DRC, from Palestine, Gaza, to Haiti, to Myanmar, Sudan, and beyond, women bear the heaviest burdens of conflict, displacement, hardship, and loss. Yet we know that when women are at the table, peace is broader, more inclusive, and more enduring. We know that when women's voices are heard equally, societies thrive. We know that when women lead, economies prosper. We know all this. Now we must act on it so that the promises we have made are fulfilled for all women and girls, and so that all women can lead and thrive. Excellencies, I've had the privilege of meeting many inspiring young women and girls. They are the first to show me and to tell me what can be done differently. They are the first to offer solutions. They are the first to remind me of the potential and urgency of change and for progress. I believe, like they do, that change is coming and will not be denied. I am neither naive nor blind to the challenges women face and girls face, from violence to discrimination to misogyny. But I know, as you all do, with unshakable certainty, that equality is the solution. Equality is the accelerator. Equality is progress, and equality is the game changer. Excellencies, feminists, everybody in this room, our choices, whether those of action or inaction, are who we are. They are the record by which we are judged. Those choices we make now will define us, and they are our permanent marks on history's pages. We must choose rights, equality, empowerment for all women and girls. And we will. We must choose rights, equality, empowerment for all women and girls, and we will, because our resolve is limitless, our movement unstoppable, our unity unshakable, and our cause undeniable. Thank you for being here with us today and every day. And before I conclude, let me say to those observing the holy month of Ramadan, may it bring peace and hope to all. I wish you a happy International Women's Day, and I thank you.
Seema, thank you. And I love your line. The choices we make now, they are permanent marks on history's pages. Wonderful quote there. What we do matters. Seema, thank you. Well, as I mentioned, today we're going to hear some incredible stories of personal activism, people fearless in their passion for equality for all women and girls, and people who live in the promise of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. You know, in 1995, 189 governments unanimously agreed that this far-reaching framework for action at a conference with more than 17,000 participants. Imagine that. This was really visionary at this time, and it identified many issues that remain relevant today, issues that our next speakers will address. So let's now turn to someone whose life demonstrates the power of technology as a force for equality, not exclusion, and the vital importance of bridging the digital gender gap. She not only knows that women and girls must have access to the skills, opportunities, and power of the digital economy, she makes it happen. She uses her success and tech expertise to help educate and empower Afghan women and girls, increasing their technological and financial literacy, and is an outspoken advocate for their rights. Let's watch a brief extract from a film being released today called Rule Breakers, showing the pioneering Afghan girls robotics team that our next speaker co-founded. Let's take a look.
We are looking for 4 girls who would like to learn about robotics.
It's dangerous to talk about girls doing this.
It's dangerous not to. This is our chance. We have to fight. And this is how we do it.
We have made a mine detection robot.
Nothing ever happened unless someone dreamed it first. What do you want? To win.
Nice. So now we're going to hear from Afghan entrepreneur and First Tech CEO of the country, founder of the Digital Citizen Fund and of the Afghan Citadel software company, builder of innovation and tech centers across Afghanistan, and creator of an online platform to strengthen the voices of Afghan women and journalists. She leverages her tech success to foster education and empowerment for Afghan women and girls and champions their rights. Let's welcome the extraordinary Roya Mahbub.
روز جهانی زن مبارک means Happy International Women's Day. President of General Assembly, Madam Executive Director, distinguished guests, it's a pleasure to be with all of you here. Today marks 1,268 days since girls were banned from attending secondary school in my country, Afghanistan. And today I wanted to tell you about the rights, equality, and empowerment as I experienced them. I remember the first time I sat in front of the computer screen in any cafe in Herat, the first time I experienced a world where the knowledge wasn't locked away, where the ideas traveled freely, and where opportunities was no longer limited by geography. That computer changed my life. It's introduced me to the power of technology and set me on the paths to pursue education in STEM and entrepreneurship, something that was unheard for the women in my country at the time. With access to technology, we didn't just dream of a better future, we built it. My company used digital tools to work with the client internationally, proving that women, no matter where they are, they can lead businesses, bring innovations to the market, and have local to global impact. Today, millions of the girls in Afghanistan and beyond stand where I was stood, but they are denied the same opportunities to thrive. Their schools remain closed, their screens dark, their future stolen, and their voice silenced. Education is a fundamental right. We must equip young people, especially young women, with right skills of today so they are not left behind. Technology-defined workforce of tomorrow. Consider what inaction costs us all. Think of medicine undiscovered, the algorithm unwritten, and the solution never created because a girl with answer sit in the darkness. We will not allow this step to continue. Technology is a great equalizer. A girl in a refugee camp or in a conflict zone can learn in coding and start online business. The all-girls robotic team that I created proved to the world that innovation and talent knows no gender, no border, only opportunities. The World Economic Forum warns that the shortage of digital technical skills will leave 85 million jobs unfilled by 2030. We know the solution. The government and private sector must step up to invest in digital education, ensure internet access, and protect women's rights to learn and create a pathway into a STEM field. Act now with the urgency of those who understand that every girl denied education today becomes tomorrow's missing scientist, absent entrepreneur, and silent leader. We are at the crossroads of the crisis and opportunities. We must close the digital divide for all girls, for all women, for rights, for equality, for empowerment. Thank you.
Roya, I'm sorry, can you come back over? Can you come back over? I had to talk to you a little bit more. You know, so many people sometimes question what can they do in their own world. And I think it's just incredible that you decided, you know what, in my world, I'm going to do something different. What was the impetus for that?
I think that I saw that the power of technology in my personal and professional life, and it's changed my life. And I see that there are millions of the girls who are out there like me, curious but giving an own vision to explore the world. And I wanted to share the same opportunity that changed my life and open a door of opportunity for them. That's the reason that I wanted to continue to provide access to education, especially in tech, for the young girls in my country and beyond Afghanistan.
So tell me about this robotics team. How has it really transformed the lives of these young girls?
These young girls at the moment, after the fall of the Kabul, many of them left Afghanistan, so we evacuated them, and right now, many of them are studying at universities, different universities in the United States, in UK, in Canada, and one of them actually this year get in aerospace engineering in MIT University. We have another former member of our team that she's a champion for one of the UN initiative, and some of my other students, they are studying their own initiative to provide access to education for the girls in Afghanistan.
Well, bravo to you. Thank you so much. Roya Mahboob, the power of one, helping to transform lives. Well, we are going to march forward with women's rights throughout today's program. And now we're going to speak to a young teenager. For several years, she's already been an advocate for environmental justice and gender equality in Thailand. She has addressed ministers, ambassadors. She's been to more than 20 events. She's even had a TED Talk. I mean, this is a teenager. She is really making a difference. So we're going to invite her onto the stage right now. And unfortunately, I do not have her name in front of me. Can you come over here? Thank you. Come over here. Okay, tell everyone your name. Okay, great, thank you. Well, first of all, before you begin, I just want to say I am marveled by how young you are. Already clearly so poised, but you decided you wanted to take this on. Why?
It has always been my passion to kind of advocate for environmental rights and women's rights.
And how old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20, okay. Now, all of the other young girls who are out there, I told you about the sisters who are in the back of the room. Here's your inspiration. Here's your marker. Take it away.
Climate change, human-driven, global catastrophe, driver of injustice. I was 16 when I first became aware of it. I remember being terrified by the climate clock and not knowing what to do. I'm 16. I'm no researcher, no lawyer, no decision maker. I have a purpose, but I'm young and I'm a girl. Luckily, I've met people who told me that what I had was enough. My voice, commitment, and hard work for climate action is all that I needed to make a meaningful contribution. From then onwards, I became convinced that I can actually take ownership of my own future. Young people is at the forefront of the climate movement, yet we remain excluded from meaningful decision-making processes. The time for passive witnessing has long since passed. We want to and we can be shapers of our own future. These commitments are necessary, but they're simply not enough. Women and girls are disproportionately affected by climate change. Women farmers and female-headed households are too often at the mercy of it. I've seen farmlands and shelters destroyed from severe flooding. From climate-induced diseases, food insecurity, to water scarcity, they're the ones to face shrinking incomes, surging degrees of gender-based violence, and increased household care and work hours. They face ever-escalating risks to their homes, health, and education, with climate change forcing displacement and school dropouts. It is for those women that we raise our voices and, most importantly, take action for climate justice. Currently, just 3% of all official development assistance on climate had gender equality-related objectives. But even so, grassroots women and civil society leaders have been pushing the forward, has been leading the charge. From Java to Bangladesh to Indonesia to Thailand, they've built adaptive capacities in their local communities to respond to rising sea levels and industrial contamination. In Cambodia and Vietnam, targeted initiatives have enabled women farmers and entrepreneurs to proactively protect their livelihoods, whether it's through training on disaster risk reduction or provision of solar-powered water pumps or irrigation systems. While so little funding and resources are there to support them, women and girls have been providing practical solutions to climate-induced problems. So join us in calling for more funding towards grassroots women's organizations, for institutionalized, gender-responsive climate finance, and for climate decision-making processes to finally include young women and girls. Looking back when I was 16, it was the countless possibilities and opportunities out there that really gave me the strength and conviction to pursue climate action. With all of us standing together in solidarity, we're here to create those new possibilities to empower all women and girls. But for us to really transform our shared future, women and girls must be at the very center of climate justice. Thank you.
Grace, thank you so much and being an inspiration to all the young girls in attendance today and watching around the globe. Now let's take a look at one of our UN Women Goodwill Ambassadors is doing in Africa, and critical work that links ending female genital mutilation and violence against women to sustainable livelihoods through regenerative agriculture. Female genital mutilation is a devastating violation of the human rights of women and girls. And Jaha Doucouré is one of the youngest ever Africans to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize and has received multiple accolades for her outstanding work on women's rights and ending female genital mutilation, including Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People and New African Magazine's 100 Most Influential Africans. She is founder of Safe Hands for Girls, a nonprofit organization working to protect young women and girls who are at the risk of FGM, and most recently led efforts in Gambia to prevent the reversal of the law banning FGM in her own country. So let's take a look at a video and what she's doing.
My name is Jaha Doucouré, and I am the UN Women Regional Goodwill Ambassador for Africa. Ending female genital mutilation isn't just about stopping a harmful practice. It's about reclaiming dignity, protecting futures, and ensuring that every girl has the right to make decisions about her own body. I stand with survivors, with mothers and entire communities choosing a different path. One where culture and tradition does not mean harm, and where culture evolves to uplift, not to
look, this was for you, and now you're saying.
Through education, economic empowerment, and leadership, we are proving that change is possible, that ending FGM is not just a dream, but a reality we are building together. This is more than a fight. It's a movement of resilience, of hope, and justice. And together we will create a world where every girl is free to live without fear, without pain, and with limitless possibilities.
So for more on the movement of hope and justice, please welcome UN Women's Goodwill Ambassador for Africa, Jaha Doucouré.
January, Owasewonati Yakarunkotai. Happy International Women's Day. I stand before you as a survivor of a system that told me my worth was tied to my silence, my obedience, and my ability to endure female genital mutilation, to endure going from one marriage to the next when I was still a child. But I did not just endure and survive. I resisted. I fought for my freedom, for my daughter's freedom, and for the freedom of all women and girls who deserve more than to survive. They deserve the right to thrive. Because for all women and girls, poverty is more than a lack of money. It is a lack of power. When a girl is denied education because her family cannot afford school fees, when a mother cannot escape an abusive marriage because she has no financial independence, when women's labor on farms, in homes, in markets goes unrecognized and unpaid, this is not just economic inequality. It is a denial of dignity. And for all women and girls, dignity is not negotiable. But I have seen what happens when we invest in all women and girls. I have walked through communities where women are transforming farms using regenerative agricultural practices that not only feed their families, but heals our land. I have worked with traditional and religious leaders who once defended harmful traditional practices, only to become champions of change when they saw that progress does not mean abandoning culture. It means protecting all our daughters. I have stood beside women who, with just a small investment in their businesses, have lifted not only themselves, but entire communities out of poverty. For all women and girls, economic independence is the foundation of freedom. A woman who can provide for herself can make choices. A girl who has an education can build her own future. A mother who is supported by policies that value her care work can raise her children without fear. These are not luxuries. These are rights. And yet, around the world, too many governments continue to deny their urgency, failing to invest in the very people who hold our societies together. So for all women and girls, we must act. Governments must act. Investing in social protections, education, and care infrastructure is not charity. It is a necessity. When we close the gaps in care policies, we unlock the potential for millions. When we fund women-led solutions to climate change, we build a more just and sustainable world. When we ensure that all women and girls have access to land, to capital and resources, then we are not just fighting poverty, we are reshaping the future. The march forward for all women and girls' rights is facing pushback, but we will not turn back. We will not be silenced. From the villages of Africa to the halls of power, from farms to boardrooms, from classrooms to global stages, all women and girls are here, and we will keep marching. Because dignity is not negotiable, equality is not optional, and freedom for all women and girls is not a dream, it is a demand, and we will not stop until it is met. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaha, for your invaluable work. Dignity is not negotiable, equality is not optional, and freedom is not a dream. Such powerful words. Well, we all agree violence against women and girls must end. 1 in 3 women experience violence in her lifetime. That is the horrifying global statistic of gender-based violence. Yet legislation, where it exists, is often just a promise. This must end. Governments must not only legislate, they must enforce, fund, and implement. And we must accept no less. We must wait no longer, and we must hold to account all those who commit violence against women and girls. Distinguished guests, to continue reminding us of the power of action and those who, like Suffs, demand to be heard, we will next hear from one unstoppable Olympic gold medalist. She awed us with her athletic abilities, left us heartbroken by her experience with sexual abuse, and then amazed us once again with her bravery. Aly Raisman is a 6-time Olympic medalist and 2-time captain of the gold medal-winning U.S. women's gymnastics team in 2012 and 2016. She's a powerhouse. She is also the author of 2 New York Times best-selling books, including her memoir, Fierce, and children's book, From My Head to My Toes, which gently introduces young readers to the topics of consent and bodily autonomy. A leader on and off the floor, Aly uses her platform to champion women's rights, athlete safety, and mental health. So let's take a look at Aly Raisman.
The past few years, it has become painfully clear how a survivor's healing is affected by the handling of their abuse. And it disgusts me that we are still fighting for the most basic answers and accountability over 6 years later. In 2015, it was known that at least 6 national team athletes had been abused by Nasser. Made to feel that we don't matter and by these organizations, and I never want another child to feel that way again.
Please welcome the courageous Aly Raisman.
We are born into a body we do not choose, at a time we do not choose, and into circumstances we do not choose. Our birth shapes the rights we have, the dangers we face, and the trajectory of our lives. For women and girls in today's world, increased risk is a birthright. Every second of every day, somewhere in the world, 3 girls experience some form of sexual violence. That's 180 girls every minute. 10,800 girls every hour. 260,000 girls every day. 82 million girls in 1 year alone. Lives forever changed. 82 million girls stripped of their bodily autonomy and safety. I am one of those girls. I was abused by a serial predator who freely assaulted hundreds of girls and women, unchecked by employers, colleagues, the medical profession, and law enforcement. For more than 20 years, and despite dozens of reports, victims were ignored, silenced, shamed, even threatened. While this perpetrator's unfettered access enabled him to violate hundreds more, he thrived because his word carried more weight than the truth. It took the collective voice of more than 250 women to be heard, to be believed, and to finally stop this monster. Why wasn't one girl's truth enough? Predators thrive in silence, so long as gender determines whose voice is heard, whose safety matters, and whose pain is acknowledged. Women and girls will live in fear. This must end today. International agreements and national laws assert our rights to be free from violence. Not another day should pass where those promises are broken. One abused child is too many, and one time is too often. We must not wait for harm to occur before we act. We must listen. We must believe. We must demand accountability without regard for power. Autonomy over our bodies must not be viewed as a privilege. It is a basic right of every single woman and girl anywhere in the world. In the short time I have been up here, more than 500 women and girls have been sexually abused somewhere in the world. Our action will determine the course of history. Lives depend on it. This day, this year, for all women and girls, we must act for zero violence. Thank you.
Allie, thank you so much, reminding us that predators thrive in silence, so speak out. And when a victim does speak out, believe her, and do something. Well, our next speaker is also someone who has taken a stand against exclusion. In her stellar professional career, ballet dancer Ingrid Silva has called out stereotypes like pink ballet shoes and hidden prejudices and claimed her rights. She has also been a cultural ambassador, including for the U.S. State Department, participated in community outreach initiatives in Jamaica, Honduras, and Israel, and founded a collaborative platform for women to share their stories and achieve their goals. We are so happy to have with us the principal dancer from the Dance Theater of Harlem. Please welcome Ingrid Silva. And as she comes up, we're going to take a look at her in graceful action. Beautiful. Please come to the stage, Ingrid. And as you make your way, it's just so important for young girls who look just like us to see you in that space. It matters. So thank you for your grace. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say today. Thank you.
Honrado Presidente of General Assembly, UN Deputy Secretary General, Executive Director of the UN Women. A todos, feliz Dia Internacional da Mulher. I started dancing when I was 8 years old in a community dance project called Dançando Pra Não Dançar. I had no idea what ballet was, but you know, when something is meant to be, I always believe that ballet chose me. I come from a very humble childhood and home. My mom and my dad have worked really hard to raise me and my brother. None of them had anything to do with the arts, because where I come from, it's really rare to hear about classical ballet or go to a theater. It's considered a luxury, and it's very expensive to get involved in arts. Classical ballet has been predominantly white. How an 8-year-old young woman of color would think that her journey would be successful. Almost unheard of from where I come from, in the favelas of Brazil, where the most successful thing you could become is a soccer player. Many of you know their names, but classical ballet, what a dream. I auditioned in Brazil for every company you can imagine, and guess what? There were no place for me there. My body type, my skin tone, my hair, and my whole self didn't fit what the stereotypical ballerina would be. And that feeds discrimination and job rejections. Then I auditioned for the Dance Theater of Harlem. And against all odds, I was accepted by Arthur Mitchell, the first Black principal dancer in New York City Ballet. When I first stepped into the building, it was amazing to see so many other people who looked like me. I had always been the only Black girl in the room, but the world is full of possibilities. I've now been part of this organization for 17 years. Dance Theater of Harlem gave me the opportunity of growing my wings and flourishing. In 2020, when I became a mother, everything changed. Not just my journey as an artist, dancer, choreographer, and activist, but as a mother, I have a responsibility of raising my daughter. And she's here today. Seeing me, what a beautiful full circle moment. This stage and every space has to reflect the diversity of what the world looks like. For the world to be a better place for all of us, we need to keep pushing forward for equal rights, equal access to opportunities, to education, diversity, and inclusion. Progress is only made when we come together to create a better future.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. And do you know, in 2020, Ingrid's made-up painted point shoes became a piece in the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. Little side note, isn't that great? So if you get there, make sure you check that out. Well, our next speaker, Samira Rushwan, is a champion of peace and a recognized expert advocate for ending violence, whether it erupts in homes, armed conflict, online, or anywhere else. She has also been at the forefront of addressing the newest wave of attacks, technology-facilitated violence against women and girls. Let's take a look at a short compilation of photos of her. There she is at work. Let's give a warm welcome to Samira Rushwan.
إلى صانعات السلام عيدكن سعيد. Happy International Women's Day. Leaders of the world and fellow advocates for peace and development. When I was younger, I yearned to be a peacekeeper in a blue helmet. Though life took me in a different direction, I found meaningful ways to serve. Today, as an Arab woman of Egyptian and Sudanese descent, I am fully committed to the advancement of the women, peace, and security agenda. But my dream of being a change maker has been deeply tested by the brutal realities of conflict. War erupted in Sudan, and these realities crashed into my life, into my family's lives. What began as a distant concern quickly became a personal tragedy. My family was caught in the crossfire. They believed it would be temporary, but weeks turned into months, and the situation spiraled into chaos. An elderly relative, trapped alone in her home, isolated and vulnerable, died without food, water, or medicine. Then came the ultimate indignity, the inability to bury her. This denial of final rights kept some of my family rooted in this conflict, unwilling to leave her abandoned. Eventually, my family found refuge in Egypt, which opened its doors and offered solace. Conflicts and occupation worldwide have forced millions of families, including my own, to endure multiple displacement and immense suffering. Women and girls, in particular, face not only the loss of their homes and livelihoods, but also horrific forms of abuse, rape, exploitation, trafficking, and forced marriages. And contrary to our expectations, the evolution of warfare has failed to increase protection for non-combatants. In fact, recent developments, like the growing use of AI and autonomous weapons, contribute to indiscriminate harm and collective punishment of civilians. Moreover, using starvation to exterminate entire populations demonstrates a clear regression in protecting innocent lives, including unborn infants. These challenges are also compounded by a persistent denial of the right to self-determination, hindering peaceful resolutions. Today, I call upon you to respect women and girls' right to be active participants and leaders in conflict prevention and in all peace efforts. Ensure the safety, security, and well-being of women and girls, including access to essential services, reproductive health care, and their protection from violence. Transform humanitarian aid, leveraging technology to address the complex needs of conflict-affected populations, including those living under occupation, desperate to survive. 30 years is far too long. Let's promise now to end the human cost of war for women, girls, and all future generations. We can make this promise a reality. Thank you.
And thank you, Samir. Your work has never been more important. You know, across the world as conflict spreads, let's remember that over 600 million women and girls now live near armed conflict with devastating consequences. Conflict-related sexual violence has skyrocketed, rising 50% just last year alone. Yet those who are at first responders to crisis and the champions of peace, women's organizations remain underfunded and undervalued. Though our amazing Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed could not be with us today in person, she wanted to join this special gathering today. Let's take a look at her video.
Excellencies, dear friends, dear sisters, as we gather to celebrate International Women's Day, we do so standing on the shoulders of generations of women who have fought for the rights that we enjoy today. Women rights activists, feminist movements, and civil society organizations who have paved the way, often at great personal cost, for the progress that we see today. Every hard-won gain is a testament to their relentless efforts. This fight is not a battle against windmills. It is real. What is at stake is not just words and resolutions or declarations. Eleanor Roosevelt once wisely asked, where, after all, do universal human rights begin? They, of course, begin in the everyday lives of individuals, in the daily lives of women and girls in our societies and our communities. Yet we are far from where we should be. In their homes, women are often subject to violence. At their workplace, they often face discrimination and unequal pay. Online, women often endure harassment and abuse. Women continue to bear the brunt of unpaid care work, stifling their economic potential and limiting their opportunities. And when denied equal access to education and the labor market, they are held back from shaping the future they deserve. These are the everyday injustices that women and girls face. And if their rights are not upheld in these spaces, our work is far from complete. The impact of inequality is real. It is measured in lost potential, in opportunities denied, in lives constrained by outdated norms and systemic barriers. Excellencies and sisters, our journey is not over. We will keep moving forward. We will continue to reverse centuries of systemic discrimination. We will dismantle inequalities, prevent rollbacks, and push forward relentlessly to defend and advance gender equality and the rights of all women and girls in all of their diversity. And when the patriarchy pushes back, so will we. We've done it countless times before, and we will continue to do it again. Because the rights of women and girls, our rights, cannot be taken away. 80 years ago, the UN was founded on the principle of non-discrimination. That principle remains at the heart of our work. The entire United Nations family stands united in its commitment to championing gender equality, not just in words, but in our actions. We will lead the world humbly and boldly, and every step of the way we will stand with you. Together, we have the power to succeed. Together, we can create a world where every woman and girl can live with dignity, freedom, and opportunity. Thank you, and happy International Women's Day.
Okay, so earlier I asked all the women's rights pioneers of 1995 to stand up. Well, now I want the generation who have actually lived their entire lives in their wake to stand up. So all those born after 1995, under the age of 30 years also, stand up, please. Where are you? Stand up, come on. There we go. Here you are. The torch has been given to you. You have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of responsibility. But all of us are here to support you, so charge forward. Make a difference. So today, we celebrate the Beijing Platform for Action and all that it has done. You know, today is just so very important, and I think that we're all getting it, and I think that these young girls who are just standing up, they really see of just how important it is to take this on. Well, now we're going to celebrate another woman who represents the legacy of that platform for action, a woman who was in the room where it all happened in 1995, and who joins us today to tell us what it was like to be there in the thick of the negotiations and the importance of carrying the torch and sharing it with every generation that follows. Let's take a look at Patricia Luchuan.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Gonna keep on moving forward. Gonna keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back.
That was the iconic moment. Isn't that great? That was the flaming of the torch symbolizing the light of knowledge, and the potential for change that women bring to the society. So please, let's welcome the lead negotiator at this pivotal moment for women for the Beijing Platform for Action, Dr. Patricia Luanen.
Maligayang Araw ng Kababaihan, or Happy Women's Day in Filipino. I remember so well, almost 30 years ago, when the draft Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action was approved by consensus at 4:45 a.m. of September 15, 1995. The applause was thunderous. Through the year, I then committed myself to the challenge that the Beijing Platform for Action, with its 12 critical areas of concern, namely poverty, education and training, health, violence, armed conflict, economy, power and decision-making, institutional mechanisms, human rights, media, environment, and the girl child, is the most comprehensive and progressive global blueprint for women's rights and empowerment. The Fourth World Conference on Women was different. By far the largest UN conference, with estimates of 45 to 50,000 people at the government and the NGO forum. Consultations at national, regional, and global levels, and unparalleled partnership with NGOs. But reviews reveal that while some Beijing promises were kept, many were broken. Women still make up the majority of the world's poor and are underrepresented in higher-level jobs and parliaments, and continue to bear the brunt of long hours of work that is invisible and undervalued. The platform's implementation faces serious threats of diminishing resources, misogyny and sexism, and shrinking democratic space, even in countries that were champions of women's empowerment in Beijing. But on International Women's Day, let us celebrate the intergenerational feminism that brings new voices, new thinking, new ways of doing. Next week at CSW 69, I am part of a panel of Beijing veterans on 30 years of the Beijing Platform for Action, looking back, pushing forward. What a thrill it is to reconnect with old friends from Beijing days and to know that we are all still at it, working for gender equality and women's empowerment. I welcome with enthusiasm the many young women here today, a new generation of feminists, a new generation of champions of the Beijing Platform for Action. Let me quote from paragraph 41 of the platform. The advancement of women and the achievement of equality between women and men are a matter of human rights and a condition for social justice, and should not be seen in isolation as a women's issue. They are the only way to build a sustainable, just, and developed society. Empowerment of women and equality between women and men are prerequisites for achieving political, social, economic, cultural, and environmental security among all peoples. End of quote. So to the next generation, I say, yes, rights, equality, empowerment indeed are for all women and girls. But it is a long, winding, and bumpy road that we are on. We must stay the course, and together, let us build a better world for women and girls and for all. Thank you. I now invite to join me on stage someone to tell us about what young girls hope for their future and ours. Please welcome 10-year-old Ishani Desai, who will read from her prize-winning essay.
I hope for a world where every girl, no matter where she is born or the circumstances she is born into, has access to education that allows her to unlock her full potential. I hope for a world where every girl are not limited by outdated stereotypes that tell them what they can or cannot do. I dream of a future where girls can live without fear of violence or discrimination. I also hope that in future generations, more girls will be able to become leaders, have their voices heard, and make a real impact. They will not only be someone in the world, but powerful change makers in every field. Thank you.
Ashani, can you come here, please? Can you come here? You're so cute, so poised. I had to come over to you. So, how did you become just so strong at such a young age?
My brother helped inspire me too.
Yeah. See, we need men in this fight. We need young boys. You know, you are here inspiring so many other young girls just like you, and some of them are right out here on this stage. What do you want to say to them to inspire them to continue doing the work that they need to do?
Just don't give up.
That's right. Don't give up. Well, Ashani, thank you so much for inspiring us today. Ashani is our future. This is who we're working for. Thank you, Ashani. So, as we heard from her, don't give up. We have to keep pushing forward, keep pushing ahead. As you heard today, there is much work to be done all around the globe. So remember, do what you can do in your own space, in your own corner of the world, because the choices we make today are permanent marks on history's pages. So that concludes today. Thank you so much for attending International Women's Day. Did you enjoy yourselves? Are you charged and ready to do more work? Because the pushback on women's rights are real. We feel it here in America. We feel it across the globe, so let's charge ahead. We are now going to conclude today with another performance by Suffs. So enjoy.
You won't live to see the future that you fight for. Maybe no one gets to reach that perfect day if the work is never over. Then how do you keep marching anyway? Do you carry your banner as far as you can, rewriting the world with your imperfect pen, till the next stubborn girl picks it up in a picket line over and over again, and you join in the chorus of centuries chanting to her? The path will be twisted and risky and slow, but keep marching, keep marching. Will you fail or prevail? Well, you may never know, but keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching on. 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 And remember every mother that you came from. Learn as much from our successes, our mistakes. Don't forget you're merely one of many others on the journey every generation makes. We did not end in justice, and neither will you. Neither will you. We made strides, so we know you can too. Oh, you can too. With our incomplete power and use it for good, 'cause there's so much to do. So much to do. The gains will feel small and the loss is too large. Keep marching, keep marching. You'll rarely agree with whoever's in charge. Keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching on. Keep marching on. Keep marching on. Yes, the world can be changed. We've done it before, so keep marching. Keep marching. Keep marching. We're always behind you, so bang down the door and keep marching. Keep marching. Keep marching. Let history sound the alarm of how the future demands that we fight for it now. It will only be ours if we keep marching on. Come on, keep marching, marching, marching. 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 Keep marching on.
Keep marching on. Happy International Women's Day. Keep the fight going. Oh, you guys are great.